All right guys, today we're going to see who profiles amps better, the Quad Cortex, the Kemper, or the new Headrush Prime. Let's get started. In this video, I'm going to profile 3 different amplifiers on each unit. The reason why I'm doing that is, as you may or may not know, some amplifiers are easier to profile than others. Now, I found that the Redseven Leviathan is very easy amplifier to profile. So is the EVH Stealth, especially the red channel. So for this video on the high gain stuff, I'm going to profile the Redseven Channel 1 Hot mode for the easy amplifier. And for the quote difficult amplifier, I'm going to profile the Revv MKIII purple channel. And then I'm going to go ahead and profile the clean channel of the JP Mark II C+. So why am I doing this shootout this way? Well, you know, it's one thing to have all 3 profile an easy amplifier and have the profiles come out good, but I don't want you to make a judgment on these products based on them doing something that is easier to do. So I'm going to really work these units hard and make sure that they can do not only the easy stuff, but also the hard stuff very well. And I want to do a clean channel just to see the variance, if any, between the products after they profile a clean channel. Now, in my opinion and in my experience, high gain stuff is very hard to get right with profilers typically, especially when you compare it to doing just cleans or maybe some low gain stuff. Now, edge of breakup stuff, from what I've heard, is also hard to do. I don't do edge of breakup, so that won't be done in this video. And before we get started, let me just say this really quick. I don't care which unit does it better. I really don't care which one wins the contest. I mean, the only winner that should be here is you. I want you to win by getting the best information possible, and my opinions are not biased at all. I'm going to give you my honest opinions about everything, and who knows, I mean, I might be shocked with the results as well. But I will definitely share with you what I'm experiencing here in the room while I'm playing through these units after I do these profiles. And when you listen to them, I'm sure you'll come up with your own conclusions. And as a trigger warning for all you fanboys out there who are going to cry and whine and have all the weeping and gnashing of teeth in the comments section because maybe your unit didn't fare as well in this shootout as you wanted it to, I mean, you could go ahead and cry all you want. You guys are welcome to watch the video because, hey, you know, I love all of the fanboy tears that I get in my comment section sometimes when their units didn't win. Because basically what I do is I take your tears and freeze them. And here's the result here. I mean, I get these really nice big ice cubes that I make with your tears. And I just put them in a glass. And it keeps my whiskey nice and cold, you know. And I really enjoy that a lot. So thank you so much for contributing to my ice collection for my whiskey. Oh, delicious. All right, so on with the video. Let's get these profiles done. And just so you know, I will be refining the profiles on the Kemper. I will make sure that all of the levels are adjusted appropriately on all 3 units to make sure that they are done the best way possible on all 3 units, okay? And then I'm not going to show you every step of the process because this video would be like hours long and I'm not going to go through all that with you guys, and I'm not going to put you through it either. So what I'm going to do is compare the profile in each unit to the amplifier that it's profiling, and then I'm going to compare the profiles of each unit against each other. And then I'll give you my final thoughts about the profiling process and which unit I think performed better when it comes to sound and feel. All right, so I have the Revv all set up here, ready to be captured. And again, I'm not going to go through this, you know, for every single capture that I'm doing, but I have the levels correct and everything is good to go. So let's go ahead and start that capture now. All right, so now let's compare the Revv purple channel capture to the actual amp itself. When you see the picture of the amplifier on the screen, that means I'm using the amp. When you don't see it, that means I'm using the Quad Cortex, and that's going to be pretty much true for the rest of this video. If you see a picture of the amp in the screen, that means I'm playing through the actual amp. If you don't, that means I'm playing through whichever platform that I'm profiling with at that time. Now let's compare the Quad Cortex capture of the Redseven Leviathan Channel 1 Hot mode against the amp itself. Let's hear the Quad Cortex capture of the JP clean channel against the amp itself. Now let's compare the Kemper profile of the Revv to the actual amp itself. All right, now let's compare the Kemper profile of the Redseven against the amp itself. Now let's hear the Kemper profile of the JP clean channel against the amp itself. Now let's hear how the Headrush clone of the Redseven Leviathan compares to the actual amp. Now let's compare the Headrush clone of the JP Mark II C Plus clean channel to the amp itself. Well, unfortunately, I can't show you what the Revv clone sounds like on the Headrush. I did not have any luck cloning the Revv MKIII on the Headrush at all, and I'll show you the results in a minute here, but let me just say this before I show you the results. So when I first got the Headrush, the first amplifier that I cloned was the Splawn Nitro, and the results varied quite a bit, surprisingly, on that particular amplifier. And I was like, man, am I doing something wrong? I mean, I checked all of the connections many times, checked the cables. I thought maybe I had a bad cable, made sure everything was hooked up right, and even you know, referenced the diagram many times to make sure, and everything was hooked up exactly as it should be. But I got these horrible results with the Nitro, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here, you know? And then for some reason, it just started cloning it better anyways, and I started getting like sort of okay sounding clones with it, but they weren't really up to par yet, and I'm like, well, at least I'm getting, you know, some sort of amp tone out of it, but it just sounded just kind of bad. And then all of a sudden it just started working. I rebooted it, I went upstairs, got some dinner, came back down and started again. And then I actually got 2 decent clones out of it. And probably out of 15 clones, 2 of them came out okay. The rest of them were completely unusable. They sounded terrible. And I was like, well, maybe it was just a fluke, you know? All right, fine. It's a fluke. I got some good ones out of it, so let's just move on. But then when I got to this particular episode, I cloned, you know, the other amplifiers with it, and they, as you heard, sounded pretty good. But when I got to the Revv, it just sounded terrible. I mean, it was just awful, just completely unusable tones. And again, you'll hear those in a minute, and you're going to throw up when you hear how bad these sound. I can't even describe how bad they are. And I, once again, rebooted the unit 3 freaking times, shut everything down, turned everything back on, rechecked everything, and it just would not clone the amplifier at all. Horrible results. And I really have no idea at all why this is happening, because I took the same cables, the same settings, the same everything, and switched to a different amplifier, and it worked the first time. I switched to the Redseven, and it worked. I switched to the JP, and it worked. I switched back to the Revv after that, thinking, well, maybe I'm on a good rhythm here with it, and same results again. I must have attempted to clone the Revv probably at least 10 times, and they just turned out freaking horrible. And let's hear what those sound like now. I'll just show you a couple of them, because I'm not going to make you sit through all that. All right, so as you heard, it sounds like boiled ass. I mean, it's freaking garbage. I don't understand why it sounds like that. All these cables are brand new, everything's hooked up properly, and as I said earlier, I switched from one of these amps right over to the Revv, and those are the results I got. And after 10 attempts, that's all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna do this all freaking night and try to make this thing work. I mean, if I got to go through that much to get this thing to profile and amp properly, there's an issue. There's some bugs in this system. There's something wrong with the algorithm. There's something going on here. I don't know what it is, but all I can tell you is it's not going to profile the Revv. And again, I had the same issues with the Nitro, and I wrote it off as a fluke, and I just kind of moved on. But now I'm convinced that there is definitely an issue with this unit. So let's go ahead and hear how all of the profiles compare to each other now. And then after that, I'll give you my final thoughts. So here are my final thoughts, and I'll go through it amp by amp. So as far as the Redseven is concerned, I think all 3 units performed very well. There was a slight difference, but I think it's kind of negligible regarding them profiling that particular amplifier. Now with the Revv, obviously there was a massive issue with the Headrush. Again, I don't know why it didn't profile it, but whatever. Between the Quad Cortex and the Kemper, there was a pretty noticeable difference between those two units when it came to the rev. I felt like there was like that mid hump that the Kemper is known for when it profiled the rev, but with the Quad Cortex I felt like it profiled it better. It was more straightforward and more true to what the amplifier really sounded like. It didn't add any frequencies to it at all like the Kemper did. Now everybody knows that Kemper does have that mid hump that it puts in a lot of the amplifiers for some reason, and there's really not much you can do about that, but for the most part the Kemper still does a great job. I mean, it's been around for what, 11 years now, and it still kicks ass and does a great job. Now on some amps that mid hump is more noticeable than others, but I found with the Splon Nitro, the Kemper definitely puts in that mid hump, and also obviously with the Rev it does it as well. That being said, the Kemper still really does a great job with profiling. Now you probably heard a little bit of extra noise in the clone of the JP. I don't know why that was there. I switched between the two while I was you know, on the Headrush. I don't know why that noise was there. Maybe it was some line noise or something, but I'm not going to hold that against the Headrush because maybe it was just something associated with that. I don't really know, but I would like to think that that wouldn't be an issue, you know, with the Headrush. But I mean, who knows? I've had other issues with it during this whole profiling process, so you just never know. But I just wanted to be fair and mention that. So overall, I think the Quad Cortex definitely does a better job. It really does capture the true essence and tone of the amplifiers, and I just think it's more true to what the amplifiers really sound like. It doesn't add or take away any frequencies. It does a really good job with it. And another thing I want to add as well is the Quad Cortex allows me to literally run through my pedal board, which has the Revv MKIII, which is a, you know, noise gate pedal, in the loop, and I can literally leave that pedal on and gate out a lot of that horrible amp noise while it's doing the capture process, and it's not picking up all that hiss and all that stuff that the amp is producing while it's being profiled. As you know, it's putting all these signals through, and in between a lot of these signals there's slight pauses, and that's when that amp hiss comes in, and those mics are picking up that hiss, and it's going to be somehow part of that profile. There's no way that the units can sort that out, like, oh, that's amp hiss, we'll not put that in the profile. I mean, it's just the way it is. I think that's one of the reasons why the Quad Cortex does a better job, because it's not getting all that extra hiss and hum and all those horrible noises that high gain amps make when you're not playing through them. So that is a huge plus. I don't know why the Quad Cortex allows you to use a noise gate in the loop, but for some reason you can get away with it with the Quad Cortex, and you can't get away with it with the Headrush or the Kemper. Now I'll also mention that while I was cloning with the Headrush, even when I did not have a noise gate on, it would give me a warning saying noise gate detected in the loop, start over, and I'm like, there's no noise gate on. So there's definitely some bugs in the Headrush that they need to work out. Now it's 3 in the morning, and this whole episode should have taken a lot shorter than it actually did, but because I wanted to be fair and give all 3 of these units every opportunity to show their best, I spent extra time on this episode to make sure that that happened. And to be honest with you, I'm really freaking pissed off right now that I had to spend all that extra time with the Headrush and still had horrible results. I mean, honestly, I'm spitting nails right now. I'm not happy with the unit at all when it comes to the whole cloning process, because you shouldn't have to go through that. It should just clone the amplifier like it's supposed to. You shouldn't have to do all this extra studio gymnastics just to make it work. I mean, that's bullshit, and I really think that they need to fix that. And that's something that really pisses me off about digital platforms, when they release something that's not ready for prime time yet, pun intended, and they just release this stuff and they're like, we'll fix that in an update down the road. Meanwhile, there's people out there getting frustrated with the unit because it's not doing what it's supposed to do, and all these other people that reviewed it kind of swept that shit under the rug, and it really ticks me off, because when you get paid to do this kind of stuff, A lot of times you'll just try to make the unit sound as good as it can, and you won't point out all the shortcomings that are in that unit. Now, I'm not saying everybody does that, but I guarantee you that people are, and it really pisses me off. And I can tell you that friends of mine that I know that are YouTubers and myself have literally dealt with that situation where you message the company and say, well, there's an issue with this, and they'll be like, yeah, there's some, you know, fixes coming down the road. We're aware of that. We're going to take care of that, but just, you know, just concentrate on these things for now, and we'll take care of that down the road. It's like, dude, I'm not going to freaking do that. I'm not going to put my reputation on the line and say that this is good. Go ahead and buy one of these, and then, you know, have people come back at me and go, dude, I bought this thing and there's all these issues with it. Why didn't you tell me about that? I mean, my reputation means something to me, and I take my job here seriously on YouTube. I'm not just here to just sell stuff to you, you know, and just, oh, go buy this, go buy this, go buy that. Oh, this is amazing. Everything's freaking awesome. No, it's not. I'm here to point out the good things about stuff and also the bad things about things. And that's what I do here. That is my job. And again, I take it very seriously because there's a couple of things that are really important to me when I'm doing this kind of stuff. My integrity, my reputation, and being honest with you guys. I mean, I never want my channel to be associated with just being some kind of shill and just selling gear all the time and just demoing the good stuff and sweeping the bad stuff under the rug so that you can trip over it later. Because once I lose my reputation, what value do I have to you guys? Seriously, what value do I have to you guys if I just talk about the good things and ignore the bad things? Once I lose my value here on YouTube, why would anybody watch my channel anymore? And that's why that stuff means a lot to me. And getting back to what I was saying earlier about companies releasing products before they're ready, I mean, I really think that's a very irresponsible and disrespectful thing for companies to do. Because we all work hard for our money, and a lot of us musicians are kind of broke, and we're spending our, you know, hard-earned money on these products and finding out that there's issues with them, and, oh, don't worry, there's bug fixes coming. Look, I get that there's probably little bugs and stuff like that with digital products, and there needs to be fixes, but this kind of bug is major. This is a freaking cockroach running around the inside of this thing, and that's not something that I think people should have to deal with. You know what would be nice is if companies that are releasing products, especially digital platforms such as the Headrush here, would, instead of sending them to YouTubers so that they can give them positive reviews so they can sell a bunch of them, send them to us early so that we can actually do some beta testing for these companies and give them some honest feedback before it gets released to the public and say, hey, you know, I noticed this, this, and this. You might want to address that before people give you their hard-earned money for this product, and give them time to address those issues before the product is released. And that would actually help the company's reputation as well. But I think instead of that, companies are more interested in just paying YouTubers to just sell their stuff so that everybody just buys it, and then they'll just fix the stuff later if you're lucky. Because as you know, there are updates coming, but who wants to wait for an update to fix something on a product that you paid your money for, and you paid for a product that was supposed to work right out of the box? I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, there's a difference between minor bug fixes and some updates that give you some cool features and some new amp tones or something like that, and stuff that needs to be fixed before it gets released but isn't. I mean, the issues such as what I had with cloning the Splon Nitro and the Revv should not happen. This thing should be able to clone any amplifier out there and do a good job with it. And see, YouTubers like myself, I have a bunch of amplifiers, and I could actually run a product like this through its paces and then call the company and say, hey, it's not cloning all my amps properly, and I'll give them a list of amps that it's not working with very well, and maybe there's an algorithm tweak that they can do to address that before other people find that out. But like I said, instead, they'd rather just take your money and hopefully fix it down the road. But that fix will only happen when somebody runs into the issue and calls them or emails them and tells them about it. But by then, it's kind of too late, isn't it? Because by then, the person already has the product and they're having an issue with it, and then they have to have this big back and forth with the company to get it addressed. I know, I've been there, and I'm sure a lot of you people watching this video right now have also been there, and it is frustrating, man. It is super frustrating when you're trying to get something to work and it just won't. So I think stuff like this needs to be addressed before products are released to the marketplace, and it would spare a lot of people of a lot of stress. Well, unless that's some sort of fluke that just happened with me, hopefully this will be addressed down the road very quickly with this product. There's some great things I like about this product, you know, and it does have a lot of good stuff to offer regarding effects. And I love the layout and, you know, the overall look of the product, and it's pretty easy to use, and the touchscreen is awesome as well. But there's definitely some deal breakers for me with it right now. This is definitely not a product that I would want to work with until they address these issues. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and learned a lot from it. I definitely learned a lot myself, and I'm super glad that I did this episode. It was worth it for me. And if the people from Headrush want to reach out to me, my email is in the description below in this video, and feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to work with you guys and try to improve this product so that other people that have bought it already can enjoy it some more and not have to deal with these kinds of issues. Well, again, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And to all my Patreon supporters and subscribers, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And if you're new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and click the bell so that you can be notified every time I either go live or come out with new episodes. Well, I got a lot more stuff coming up for you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.